Now, with the Panto season in full swing, theatres around the land are reverberating to cries of, "Oh, yes, it is. Oh, no, it isn't." And shaking amid a chorus of boos. You could join in there, Gary.
No, I'm not
honestly.
going to bother. No, I'm
well,
leaving
this
you
is
to it.
as the baddies misbehave. But this morning, one of the other staples of the great British pantomime, the Panto horse, is taking a breather from the stage to do its bit for a good cause.
And welcome to the horse racing extravaganza. And they're away, and it's Mr. Red.
In fact, as many as 50 Panto horses are gathering at Ayr Racecourse this morning. They're chomping at the bit as they prepare to write their names into the record books. Our reporter Helen Anderson is there. I'd imagine the going's a bit soggy this morning.
Yeah, good morning, Gary. Well, the going is perhaps a bit damp underfoot, but more than anything else, it's a bit windy this morning as I look around a very, very blowy and windswept Ayr Racecourse. This time in the morning, it's still quite deserted, but later on, about 11:30, when the first horses start coming into the paddock, let's just say it will be more Dobbin than Desert Orchid, because a whole plethora of pantomime horses are gathering here this morning for an attempt to get into the Guinness Book of World Records for the biggest ever pantomime horse race. Now, as you say, this all is being organised in aid of charity, in aid of the oncology department at Ayr Hospital. I'm joined this morning by two people who know a good deal about what's going on, by Bruce Thomson, the race organiser, and also by Sister Wendy Byers from the oncology department. Now, Bruce, if I can turn to you first of all, because I know that you actually have leukaemia, you're being treated at the oncology department at the moment. How on earth, though, did you come up with the idea for a pantomime horse race?
Well, I first had the idea about 20 years ago when I organised a pantomime horse race round East Kilbride for telethon, and having recently been in Ayr Hospital lying in an isolation room for 3 months, it just gave me time for contemplation, and I reprised the idea.
So you've obviously got a proven track record in terms of this.
Yes.
Tell me about the race this morning then. What kind of horses are going to be taking part? Are these horses coming from pantomime? Is it local companies?
All these things. Essentially, it's mainly local organisations that have decided to have a bit of fun, make their own pantomime horse, which is usually 2 pairs of pyjama bottoms, a rug, and a paper mache head, and collect amongst themselves the entry fee. And they're coming along today about 11:30. We're going to have a competition for the best dressed horse, and then we're actually going to run the last 100 metres on the Ayr Racecourse to the finishing line.
Yeah, so do you know if you've got any particularly fancy horses turning up this morning? Anybody really vying for that best dressed horse title?
Well, there's a selection of animals as well as horses. There's obviously cows, reindeers, being quite festive at this time of year. The probably favourites are the Pink Lady's Clydesdale Bank horse. I think will show quite well. There's a designer horse coming from Hyphen Design in Glasgow, another designer horse coming from the King's Armouries in West Kilbride, and the local hospital's putting up a number of good runners as well. Sharon and Wendy, actually from the oncology units, are going to show good form today.
Okay, well that's interesting then that you mentioned the hospital, because as I said, I'm also joined by Sister Wendy Byers from the oncology department. Now, Wendy, of course, this race is being used to raise money. What will that money be used for?
Well, we've put our heads together, and I think patients coming into the unit find it the treatment quite stressful. So we thought that some sort of complementary therapy input into the unit would be really useful, and benefit the patient's journey through the ward.
So the money used will very much go towards that then. Now, have you actually formed part of one of these pantomime horses yourself?
Yes, we've got a runner in, yes, who's a tip favourite. Two of the staff nurses, Wendy and Sharon, are running. They've been practising all weekend, so I think they'll come in and pip the Clydesdale Bank at the post.
So they've got their teamwork perfected then?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, Bruce, if I can turn back to you for a minute, I understand there may be a star turn this morning.
Yes, we're hoping for the X Factor. Brian and Craig hopefully are actually going to enter the race in a Panto horse. So again, we're probably looking for local companies with the X Factor to turn up, and they've got 3 hours to make a pantomime horse. As I said, it's 2 pairs of pyjama bottoms, a matching rug and a head, and to join Brian and Craig round the last 100 metres of Ayr Racecourse at 11:30.
That's right. I know that anybody who's interested can still join this morning, can turn up this morning. Well, Bruce, I'm going to ask you your advice then. As we said, the going is probably a bit damp underfoot. Any hot tips for this morning, if anybody wants to lay a bit of a wager?
I always go for the horse with the longest legs and the smallest jockey myself.
That sounds great. Right, I shall be getting my wallet out and consulting the bookmakers later on from a very, very windy Ayr Racecourse. It's back to you in the nice warm studio.
Okay.
Fiver and Dublin for me, I think, Helen. Who are you
Last of
going
the big
to
spenders, yeah. OK, Helen, thank you for that. Well, if it's the horse with the longest legs, I saw the McDonald brothers from the X Factor in the flesh last week, and they don't come up to scratch on that one, I'm afraid. They don't have the longest legs. A few of your comments on the fair